everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Lead. In the Lead, as you know, presents extraordinary leaders who tell their extraordinary stories of leadership, their experiences, their philosophies, their perspectives, their ideas, their stories, so that they can inspire your leadership. Today on In the Lead, we have the incredible, the very illustrious Ganesh Nayak of the Zydus Group. But before I bring on Ganesh Nayak, very quickly, do remember to like, to share, and to subscribe this episode of In the Lead. Our guest on this episode of In the Lead is Ganesh Nayak, Executive Director, Zydus Group. Ganesh joined the original Cadila Laboratories Limited in 1977. Over the last 44 years, he's worked through three generations of the promoter's family. Ganesh started his illustrious career as a field officer in Mangalore and rose through the ranks as area manager, deputy product manager, group product manager, marketing manager, and so on to become president, executive director, and chief operating officer over 44 years of his association with the Zydus Group. Ganesh serves on the board of the listed parent company Cadila Healthcare Limited and the listed subsidiary Zydus Wellness Limited. He also serves on the boards of several other group companies. After the vertical split of Cadila Laboratories Limited in 1995, from a turnover of 220 crores with 1,600 employees and a national ranking of 17, the group today has a turnover of over 16,000 crores with 25,000 employees and ranks amongst the top 5 companies in India with global presence in over 50 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the very outstanding, the very remarkable Ganesh Nayak on In the Lead.
Thank you, Dr. Sujaya Banerjee.
Yes, Ganesh, welcome, and thank you first of all for accepting to do this. I'm going to start at the start with this incredible journey that extends over 44 years in the same organization. And you've been through, so many ups and downs with this organization. This is an incredible story. It's rare. I'm not sure how many people who occupy the numero uno position within their organizations have spent this kind of large tenures with their organizations. And especially in times where organizations struggle with retention and most people are restless about being able to stay more than 2 or 3 years within an organization, including at senior levels. I'm incredibly sort of impressed and full of admiration for your very long and successful journey. So I want you to start at the start by telling us a bit about this very illustrious journey and tell us about your philosophy of being able to have this kind of a success story because it's so rare.
Well, I guess I'm plain lucky because as you said, in today's context, it is almost impossible to have any individual working in a private organization, a family-run organization for a period of 44 years.
Yeah.
So there has to be some external force because in the first instance or place, I had never thought of getting into a in the pharmaceutical industry or in a pharmaceutical job. So call it a quirk of fate or a stroke of luck. I just happened to get into it. It's a long story. I don't think that would be of interest. But if in 1977, when I passed out of college, and if I had 10 opportunities or career opportunities listed, believe me, this wasn't one of them. And that's why I said, call it a quirk of fate or a thing of destiny. Yeah. So that I got into this business is completely out of what I had planned. Now, how I managed, when people ask me this, I say you should ask me how have I survived, because this is not a government organization.
Yeah.
It's a privately run organization. Meritocracy is what drives most of the private organizations, and ours is one such organization. So the question is, how have I survived for 44 years in this organization?
So I want to know your secret of success, basically. So more people would want to know, how do you stay with an organization for such a long period of time? And, look, there's something that has sustained you within this organization. There must be, if you reflect and look at it from, pull the camera back, I'm sure there is some formula there that seems to have worked. And I'm just wondering whether that can inspire more people to stay.
I do not know whether there is a formula, and I do not know whether this outcome is the
Hmm.
result of what I did.
Yeah.
But as I was telling someone recently, I said, if you have to succeed in an organization or in your position, there are four factors which play an important role. 50% of that is you. You have to
Yes.
have a fairly good level of education. You have to be very hardworking. You have to be street smart, and
Hmm.
you have to have the ability to keep on evolving in terms of your learning.
Right.
And these four cardinal virtues. I mean, it's more textbook. Of fortitude, then temperance, prudence, justice. If you execute these in a good, proper measure, there's no reason why people around you should not feel comfortable working with you. So
Right.
50% is that. The remaining three are balance 50%. You can decide what is the weightage you want to give. The
Yes.
first is, I think you have to be fortunate to get into a good organization. You see, in 1977, when I got into this, originally it was known as Cadila Laboratories Limited. I
Yes.
mean, at that time I realized that this company was a family run company, but the people working in the company were driving it. And even today, when I look back, this company has believed strongly in meritocracy. The politics is at its lowest,
Hmm.
and the promoters make sure that people who run this company are people from the outside. They are not just members from the family who
Yeah.
managed to get this thing going. So I think one
Right.
has to be very fortunate to be getting into a good organization. Good organization means the organization should be growing. You should
Yes.
be you should get an opportunity to grow, and
Yes.
the environment, the industry in which you are should be a good industry, because especially during this COVID times, I have been telling people, the pharmaceutical industry is a kind of recession proof industry.
Hmm.
When things are
Hmm.
bad, you might not buy a watch, you might not buy a house, you might not go to restaurants to eat, you might not go on holidays. But if somebody
Yeah.
falls ill in your family, you will even sell your family silverware to buy
Oh,
those
yeah.
medicines. So we are kind of
Absolutely.
a recession-proof industry. So all these facts. So you have to be lucky to get into a good organization. The second is you have to have a good team. As you mentioned, in today's context, everybody aspires, everybody wants to become a Ganesh Nayak in 10, 20 years. And, by 45, 50, they say, I would like to make my money, my position, and then, retire and enjoy my life. I think I was very, very fortunate to have a very good team, a very good team of people in the head office, because it's almost 40 years now in the head office. And most of the things I've done are from the head office. And there I had a team of people at different levels, at different stages of my life. Not people who were, just trying to pull each other down, or who were always looking outside for opportunities. They were committed and dedicated to the organization. So the second is
Right.
you have to have a good team in place. Now, it's not only luck, it depends, as I said, those four virtues. You have to
Hmm.
make sure that you deal with people properly. And as I said, see, these people also got opportunities within the organization because the organization was growing. And the third part, rather than stretching it too far, is your family. And I
Of
think
course.
that is a very, very important thing, because the way your wife supports you, the way your children don't create problems. I'm not saying
Yeah.
they support you.
Yeah.
That's a different way. I mean, you get calls from the school principal, your son has done this, etc. You have to leave your job and run. I mean, well, I don't have to elaborate on that. And that
Yeah.
takes away, it drains you of your focus and
Oh, yeah.
energy.
Oh, yeah.
So to that extent, I think I've been very fortunate in having a good family. Good family in the sense, well, they've done well for themselves. They are good citizens. But the most important thing with reference, because the question relates to me, is
Yes.
professionally. I think
Yes.
that has been a great support, even if that is 5 or 10%. That
Yes.
differentiates you between not a winner and a loser, between
Yeah.
being first class and second class. So
Absolutely. So well
to
said.
me, these four things have fallen in proper place. I said, fairly good education, street smartness, ability to evolve in terms of learning, etc. In terms of organization, very fortunate to have got into a very good organization, very good team that has been
Yes.
with me all through my career,
Yes.
and a very good, well, rather than saying support from the family, no hindrance from the family.
Yeah,
So these
yeah,
four things have fallen in place, and that is
yes,
what has led me to do justice to my job, because of which
yes.
I'm here even today.
Right, right. Thank you for answering that and repeating that formula because, I mean, there is indeed a formula there. And I can see that, so many people will start changing or shifting their perspectives on what it is that they seek in their careers, how to have longevity in your careers. Because if you don't stay, you're not able to create any form of contribution. And I wish more professionals are going to take a page out of your book on how you've been able to sort of curate and manifest this kind of a career. I think with that, Ganesh, want to move on to obviously, we're in the middle of easily the most disruptive times we've experienced, as across the world, basically globally. The current situation has impacted lives, it's impacted livelihoods. Clearly, it has accelerated many things, and the pace of change is one of them, which is very, very apparent. Uh, if you look at the kind of sort of mindset, skill sets that you require for leaders in these times and managing change and basically adapting, demonstrating adaptability are going to be such key sort of behaviors, leadership traits that we're going to look for, and which leaders need to really develop if they want to succeed within organizations. So I want to talk about change because I know you feel strongly about change and you've managed so much of change through your own career. Tell us a bit about your own philosophy about managing change. Also, how change or managing change is such an incredible opportunity to become a role model, as a leader. Because people watch you closely, especially when you're driving change or with the organizations going through a large transformation. Tell us a bit about your own experiences. And I know you have such a wide spectrum of experience, but give us more your sort of undiluted philosophy around change. And most importantly, the opportunity of being role model as leader, especially when you're driving change.
See, since you spoke of change, change is desirable, but stability is essential. You cannot bring about change which triggers instability. And I
Mm.
think that is like, they say you have to rock the boat, but you should know how much to rock the boat. The boat shouldn't capsize
Yeah,
because of your rocking it to that level. And I
yeah.
think that is the art of a good leader. Because I mean, if you ask me what is leadership, generally leadership is a good leader should have the ability to think laterally, which
Mm.
that opportunity we got in this COVID times.
Yeah.
He should have the ability to lead from the front, and execution capabilities are most important for a leader. And most importantly, is the ability to absorb a shock or to perform in the face of adversity.
Right. Tell us about the opportunity of leadership, especially in the context of change management. Is there any story, anything that comes to mind of maybe you would have driven many change agendas over the last 4 decades. So tell us something that really strikes you, a story that can really stick.
I mean, there are many such stories, but we realize finally it is institutionalization which works in the life of an organization, not just anecdotal situations. But the biggest change, which challenge I would say, in terms of change which I faced or we faced was, this company was founded in 1952 by two families, and in
Yes.
1995 it was decided that for the sake of proper growth, these two families should have their share of the existing company and run it separately. So for us, the team which had worked for 15, 20 years before, we were India's fifth largest pharmaceutical company. Our turnover was about, I'm talking about 26 years ago in
Mm.
1995. We
Mm.
had a turnover of almost $100 million or about 450 crores. We were 2,800 people, and we were a large force. We were a respected pharmaceutical company. When
Yeah.
this division took place, from the fifth rank, we part of the two, we
Mhm.
got a rank slip to the 17th position.
Mm.
From these 2,800 employees, we were 1,600 employees. And from the $100 million business, 450 crores, we were left with only 220 crores. And you see, the economies of scale was completely lost. So from a
Mm.
very well run, profitable company,
Mm.
we became half. And when you lose economies of scale, obviously your profitability, etc., gets affected.
Right.
And that change was a big challenge. And for me, because before that I was the head of the domestic business.
Hmm.
When this separation or this formation of Zydus or Kedla Healthcare Limited took place, I was given the opportunity of being the president of this company, and I was looking after all the marketing functions like domestic, international, as well as the animal health and the consumer products business. And to me, those first 5 years, and I see I was very young, I was 40 years of age at that time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what I think I could manage to do in those 5 years was the biggest lesson I learned. Because what I mean, well, it's a cliche. They say. I think Alvin Toffler said that you learn, unlearn, and relearn. For
Hmm.
me, that was a real practical, experience of whatever
Yeah.
I had learned earlier. I had to
Hmm.
unlearn, and I had to learn all the new things. And as I
Right.
said, there was a good organizational support from the top. There was a good team, and see, it is a spirit. I always say running a business is strategy and execution,
Hmm.
letter and spirit.
Hmm.
Strategy today has become generic. I mean, with the internet and so much data and material available, you can just sit on an internet and get all the data from all the, in our particular instance of pharmaceuticals, you can just search and get all the data you want from multinational, domestic companies, Indian market, emerging markets, the regulated markets, and
Hmm.
prepare a document, a strategy document. But
Right.
that is very generic. What really
Hmm.
differentiates is the execution, and the
Right.
execution is the USP of an organization.
Right.
Because
Right.
execution is the leadership, the ability to work hard, motivation,
Absolutely.
exaltation. There are so many factors, and those you can't get from the internet. No, that is purely physical, individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is in your DNA. It's in
Yeah.
your DNA, and DNA you can't take the DNA from here and put it. It's not a lab experiment.
Right. Right.
See, the other is the letter and the spirit.
Hmm.
Letter is something like the strategy.
Yeah.
And spirit. So in 1995, when we had this biggest challenge, the spirit was so high, means it was
Yeah.
too high, and everybody talks about commitment and dedication. Now, if you
Hmm.
make 10 leaders stand in a row and
Hmm.
ask them, "Would you like to succeed in
Hmm.
terms of your commitment?" They'll say, "Yeah, yeah, yes." If you
Hmm.
ask them, "Does hard work really matter?" All of them will say yes. But
Hmm.
how many of them are ready to work hard? And to me,
Hmm.
that is dedication. Dedication
Hmm.
means if you are given an assignment, you say, "I need a dedicated resource."
Hmm.
Dedicated means somebody who is completely assigned to that.
Hmm.
And today, commitment everybody has. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to succeed. But
Hmm.
dedication,
Hmm.
everybody uses the word, but very
Hmm.
few people would give complete dedication, time, effort, energy to that task. And
Right.
that, I think, is the biggest challenge industries have, the biggest challenge which leaders have, how to ignite that spirit. And I mean, that
Hmm.
reminds me of the phrase, you cannot get people to work by putting a fire under them, by
Hmm.
lighting a fire under them. You have to create a
Hmm.
fire in their belly.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
you do that, that is
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if
So well
leadership
said. So well said. And I love the distinction you're making between basically commitment and dedication, because these are words that get used so loosely.
very,
They are so incredibly important in in basically turning the letter into spirit, basically. And I loved what you're saying, because when you're saying that execution is really what your trump card is within an organization, strategy, a lot of people can try copying each other's strategies, but the distinctiveness for success really comes from your culture, your DNA, the way in which you execute, and the rest of that. So I think very, very well said. And I think these are such gems to take away for those who are watching this episode.
since you spoke of gems, you see, I did this TGMP course, the Harvard Business School in
Hmm.
2003, 2002, 2003. And there they had one study which they conducted over, I think, some 25 years, over 100 companies.
Hmm.
And cutting a long story short, they found that there were only 7 companies out of these 100 which
Hmm.
had consistently performed over the period of 25 years. And the metrics or the parameters were different, not only in terms of market capitalization, but in terms of growth, profitability, growth of people, expansion, globalization, etc. And they found there were uh, three attributes
Hmm.
which they could identify across the board in all these 3 companies. all these seven organizations, and they were, the first was consistency of purpose.
Hmm.
These companies stuck to their knitting. They, I mean, a pharmaceutical company getting into automobiles, aerospace, etc. They didn't do that. So the first is, for a good organization, you should have a consistency of purpose. The
Hmm.
second, they found that in these seven organizations, there was a very strong commitment to effort. They
Hmm.
found right from the chairman to the janitor, everybody worked very hard, not just
Hmm.
hard, not coming to the
Hmm.
office at 9 and going at 6. And the third was the responsibility for results.
Hmm. Hmm.
You see, I mean, I can say well, I've come to the office at 8:45 instead of 9, instead of 6, I've gone at 7. So what more
Hmm.
you expect?
Hmm.
But you have to be responsible for the results.
Yeah.
We found
Yeah.
that in these seven organizations, over the period of 25 years, they were consistently sustainable in terms of their performance because of these three: consistency of purpose, commitment to effort, and responsibility for results. And by and large, I
Hmm.
found in our organization, by and large, 10 out of
Hmm.
10 is very difficult in life.
Yeah.
By and large, this company has been working on those lines. And that's why I think today Zydus or Kedla Healthcare Limited is what
Yeah.
it is.
Lovely, lovely, beautiful, and thank you for the generosity and sharing this. I think with that, I'm going to move on, Ganesh, to something that's very close to heart for me, which is basically submitting yourself to coaching as a younger professional, and even as you keep growing within the organization, having the humility to be coached or to identify a coaching moment, to be able to take away something that someone's saying to you and to kind of make it into a reflection point, use it as a trigger to change, and the rest of that. And I think many of us miss the opportunity of identifying these coaching moments. We miss the opportunity of even having a coach sometimes. So I want to know, what have been your coaching experiences, in the sense your experiences of being coached? So tell us about your own journey of evolution as a professional, and something that somebody said as they were coaching you, which has made a huge difference.
No offense meant, I'm not coming from a position of arrogance, but
Hmm.
as I think I said it earlier, for me, it has always been a matter of learning from everyone. And
Hmm.
something or the other is there to learn from
Yeah.
most of the individuals, not everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Most 9 out of 10 individuals you meet, you'll definitely get to learn something, good or bad. A lot
Yeah.
of people ask me, who's your role model?
Hmm.
I don't have a role model. I mean,
Hmm.
just because somebody is in power or something, I say he's my role model. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
So does it mean that I'm God? No, I learn from
Lovely.
everyone, every day.
Yeah.
There are so, I mean, like, well, I can use so many examples. Like we
Hmm.
had this Japanese guy. He
Hmm.
said, Nayak-san, I feel very bad that in your country people don't like to say thank you or sorry.
Hmm.
And I said, do you find that flaw in me? He said, no, no, you are the only guy, one of the few guys I've seen from your country who says, he keeps on saying thank you or sorry. But he says, in your country, people, I don't know what is the problem.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just giving an instance of
Yeah.
learning.
Oh, yeah.
Don't take that particular thing which I mentioned.
Hmm.
So, like this, there have been learnings galore.
Yeah.
If you ask
Yeah.
me to point out one or two things, well, I'm sorry. I don't think I can tell you that.
Hmm.
Because there are so many, and
So
well, I
many.
keep on learning. I mean, learning everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you. You wear a jacket, correct?
Yeah.
People keep their pens here. This
Yeah.
pocket is not for a pen; it's for a kerchief.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I learned it. Somebody pointed it out to me. Not now, some
Yeah.
20 years back, 20 years
Yeah.
ago. Said, my dear friend, why do you wear your pen here? You want to show that you're wearing a Cartier or a Mont Blanc? I said, no, no, no. He said, no, that's not. It's to be kept inside.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving instances of
Yeah.
learning. I'll
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
you extreme examples from saying thank you to
Yeah.
sorry to to even
Yeah.
how you dress
How
up.
you dress, yeah. Yeah, but I think that itself is an incredible response, which is that keep looking out for opportunities to learn, and you can learn from everyone. And people don't have to be necessarily at the top of the organization or someone who's iconically successful. You can actually have the humility to learn from just about everyone, and you need to keep that constant. Basically, you're saying keep that switch on constantly to be able to learn and grow. So I think that's a wonderful response. I'm going to move forward to ask you a question around, you mentioned to me when we spoke earlier about a time where you led a committee which needed a task to get done, and no one could find the opportunity to squeeze that in during a work day because you were all busy with your work assignments and your work delivery. So you all decided to meet before breakfast to be able to get
Ah,
the job
oh, okay,
done.
okay. Yeah, see,
Yeah,
that is what
I wanted you to share that incredible story with everyone.
most of the people who have been in the industry for a long time are aware of this. And this relates to what I said earlier about this 1995 split. It was a do or die situation for us.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning about the spirit. And I
Hmm.
also was talking about having a good team.
Hmm.
And I will give you this exact. On the 1st of June 1995, we had this split. And it was completely new. It was not written in any textbook anywhere. I mean, how do you run a divided company? I
Yeah.
mean, we just didn't know. We only
Yeah.
knew that we have to survive. From the number
Hmm.
5 position, we were the number 17. And the domestic business was the largest contributor for our total business. And as I mentioned earlier, I was the head of the domestic business. I became the president of a larger portfolio of businesses. And my very close colleague, he became the head of the domestic business. And before that, we used to have this, this every month we used to get a ORG report. It tells you about your position, your ranking vis-a-vis competitors and all that. So he said, Mr. Nayak, you will have to help me out with these meetings. You will have to attend these ORG meetings because they are very important if we really have to, gain back our position which we have lost. So in a fit of, it was almost a fit of anger. I said, yeah, I mean, I have so many other fish to fry. Now you are asking me to do this, which is your job. I said, okay, I'll do it. But then, I'll not do it in the regular office hours. We will have a meeting, and it just came out of my mouth. I said, we'll have a meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that is where having good team members, having people who are ready to, work shoulder to shoulder with you matters.
Hmm.
So he said, yeah, just let me think about it, talk to the people and get back. Within an hour, he said, yes, Mr. Naik, we are okay. And see, trust me, we used to have 3 meetings every month.
Hmm.
Long story short, 5 years I attended those meetings at 6 o'clock in the morning. 5 years is almost 180 meetings. And believe
Yeah.
me, people, whoever
Hmm.
listens to it, there'll be many of them who have attended those meetings. Every day, there used to be about 10, 12 product managers and the heads of divisions attending that meeting. Not a single meeting of those. I was late even by a minute. 6 o'clock means I used to come to the office at 5:45, prepare my notes. Previous night also I used to get the notes because I have to give an opening talk. No? I mean, when people
Yeah.
get up and come, etc., you can't just say start the meeting, start the presentations. You have to
Hmm.
give them a talk. It may not be a
Hmm.
pep talk, but so they know that even I have come prepared.
Yeah.
And trust me, there was not a single complaint which I got. The 6 o'clock can't be have it later, etc. I mean, I made sure there's motivation, there is exhortation. Motivation is okay; it's a loosely used term. What really matters is exhortation. I don't use exhortation is more like in management terms a carrot and a stick. Exhortation is
Hmm.
you blow hot, blow cold. So there's a
Hmm.
good balance of your motivation as well as your expectation.
Hmm. Hmm.
So every time I used to ask, next time, what breakfast do you want to have? I said, not mine. I like, if somebody said I would like to have chili pakoda, somebody idli, vada, etc. So we used to start the meeting at 6 o'clock. It used to be over by 8 15, 8:20, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. We used to have a very nice breakfast, all of us. And 9 o'clock, we were in the office at a regular reporting time.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, that was that the trigger
Hmm.
because everybody realized that and see, ultimately as I said, responsibility for result
Yeah.
from the number 17th position. I think in the first 1.5 2 years we were within the top 10, and today we are among the top 5 pharmaceutical
Amazing.
companies. Yeah. So I mean, so everybody wants to work hard,
Yeah.
but they find it difficult. So the job of a leader is to ensure that their desire to work hard translates into action, and that
Yeah.
can be done by doing something like this. Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of the wives would have said, "Are you mad here? What the hell is happening to you? 6 o'clock means what? You have to take the children to school. I have to do this, etc."
Yeah.
So they would have told, Mr. Nayak is not an old man. He also has children at home. If he can come,
Hmm.
how can I say no?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't come and sleep in the meetings. He comes prepared. He does it, etc. So Everybody likes to work hard. Everybody likes to perform.
Yeah.
So they need some exhortation from the top,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who they report to or people with whom they work.
Right. And also a strong role model, someone who's willing to do it themselves, who leads from the front and does it himself or herself.
See,
I think
that
that
is
too.
very important because
Yeah.
today, all these, I mean, even the field officers, representatives, they're all very smart, very well educated, very well read. And
Hmm.
if I keep on, well, I used to keep on telling this even then.
Hmm.
I mean, if I'm an area manager with the 5 or 6 representatives, if I have to lead them, those guys are going to look up and say, why is this guy my boss?
Yeah.
What does he have that I don't have?
Yeah.
Does he
So
have a good
true.
ability to detail, to work hard, come on time, punctuality, etc.? There are so many traits, attributes which which help you survive as a leader. I'm not
Yeah.
saying perform. You have today to survive. You have to have all these traits. Otherwise, people are not going to accept you as a leader.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to be
So
smart.
well said.
Well, smartness is your physical, mental. Like somebody told me there are 3 A's which are very important. When you start,
Hmm.
academics, athletics, and aesthetics. I said, what is
Hmm.
that? Academics is that you have to have a good education. If you
Yeah.
are not educated, those you don't give examples of those big shots who are today big industrialists who are selling gasoline somewhere and who are selling something on a cart, etc. Those days are
Hmm.
gone. So first is
Yeah.
academic. You have to be well educated, qualified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second is athletics. You have to keep your body in good shape because a
Yeah.
healthy body harbors a healthy mind. And third is
Absolutely.
aesthetics. Aesthetics means you have to have some style. You have to have some
Yeah.
aura. Yeah, you come in. So the
Yeah.
3 A's: academics, athletics, and aesthetics.
So well said. And I must say that a lot of what you said in this segment is the primary reason why so many people feel disenchanted with who's leading them. And so the good question that you're asking, that why should you be their boss? Why should you be the boss of these people? Why should anyone be led by you? And you got to be able
Correct.
to answer that question yourself as the leader. So role modeling so significant in this journey. So with that, Ganesh, I want to ask you simply, I mean, you've just said such beautiful things since we started this conversation. Tell me, if you wanted to recap this into a leadership philosophy, what would that be? What is your leadership philosophy?
Action is eloquence.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
You can think well, you can speak or communicate well, and you
Hmm.
can act well. A good leader should have all these 3 abilities. He should be
Hmm.
able to think well, he should be
Hmm.
able to communicate well, and he should be able
Hmm.
to act well.
Hmm. Yeah, simple, straight, which is, not only eloquence, not only communication, but the ability to also act. And most importantly, to think before you actually communicate and then act. So great stuff. So I think simple philosophy, but great one to take away there. I want
Yeah,
to
because
ask you,
let me extend that by
yeah.
another, well, it's not a phrase,
Hmm.
we were taught somewhere. Skill without effort
Hmm.
is of little avail, for the heart may conceive, and the head devise in vain, if the
Hmm.
hand be not prompt to execute the design. This is Shakespearean language, but in management terms, what does it mean? Skill
Hmm.
without effort is of
Hmm.
little avail. Skill,
Hmm.
you might be a very smart guy,
Yeah.
but if you're not
Yeah.
ready to put in effort, it is of little
Yeah.
avail. For the
Yeah.
heart may conceive and the head devise in vain. You
Hmm.
may want to do it, commitment,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the head devise in vain. You might have a very good strategy.
Hmm.
If the hand be not prompt to execute the design, meaning execution or implementation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well it
Lovely.
is said. I keep
Yeah.
on telling this to our field managers. I said, don't think you're smart, you have got a good education, you have a good personality, and this skill without effort is of no avail. And you have
Right.
a desire to succeed, and you have very good plans in mind, but can you can you go out there and deliver in terms of the work required? There's no
Lovely.
substitute. There's no substitute for hard work.
Lovely takeaway. I think I have an appropriate question to ask you right on the back of this. You have a 3 hours philosophy on leadership. I think this is perfect to be able to mesh this into what you just said right now, to be able to expand on the 3 hours. I'm going to leave it to you to tell our audience what are the 3 hours.
Oh, the 3 R's. The
Hours,
alphabet
yes.
R's.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. See, for any successful organization, and I learned it from, not now, 20 years back. There was a HR leader from McKinsey,
Hmm.
from Canada. He had come,
Okay.
some Japanese name.
Hmm.
And in the course of our interaction with him, we this is about 20 years back when
Yeah.
Zydus was quite a small organization. He said, you are expanding now. You're looking at globalization. You're looking at different areas, different new businesses in the same area of pharmaceuticals. And he said, for any good organization, these 3 R's are very important. He said,
Hmm.
first, when you begin, you have to make a performance which is, well, first let me expand on these three. The 3 R's
Yeah.
are reliability, repeatability, and replicability.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
first is your performance has to be reliable.
Hmm.
Reliable means you have to have good practices, no shortcuts. You have to have good processes. You have to have the ability to achieve your target. It has to be a reliable performance.
Hmm.
Then it has to be a repeatable performance because
Hmm.
of the systems, processes, methods, etc., which we have done. If you have institutionalized it, to use a management term, you should be able to do it again and again.
Hmm.
Correct? Repeatability. Once you have done it over a period of time, 2, 3, 4 years, if you have done that in India and you want to do it in some other part of the world, you should
Yeah.
be able to replicate it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So a good company's performance is based on these 3 R's. The performance has to begin with being a reliable performance. Then you have to be able to repeat it. And then you should be, the template has to be such that you can replicate it somewhere. So
Hmm.
if you are capable of doing that, if you can into having a performance which is reliable, repeatable, and replicable, then you can be sure that your performance, your foundation is strong.
Right, right. Lovely, beautiful. I want to move this forward to be able to expand a little more on something that you mentioned earlier in our conversation as well, which is, as a leader, managing this polarity between being tough and being compassionate. So you spoke about lighting the fire under people or inside people, and we spoke a lot about the ability to be able to. You used another word to be able to also describe this. So I want you to be able to expand on this. Tell us a bit about how leaders, and this is a very real challenge for a lot of leaders, which is how do you manage this sort of polarity between being both compassionate as well as tough and no nonsense on deliveries and assignments? How do you balance these two?
A lot has been written on it. In fact, on the 23rd, there was an article in the Harvard Business Review, which
Hmm.
I circulated it to at least 100 people. It says wisdom and compassion. And
Hmm.
it gives a very good definition. He has done a study, maybe I'll send it to
Hmm.
you too, that those people who are very wise, very hardworking, very taskmasters alone without compassion, as compared to people who are taskmasters wise with compassion, the
Hmm.
difference in results, I think the delta is almost 80%. So it is a known fact
Hmm.
that if you are just a taskmaster and if you do
Hmm.
not understand and identify and align yourself with people, you're not going to get the good results. Either
Hmm.
you'll get the results and people will burn out and leave you, or people will just strongly react.
Hmm.
Now, that is what is said. Your question is, how do you manage that? Now,
Hmm.
that's easier said than done. You have to have a lot of sacrifice. I mean, as I said, you have to lead by example.
Hmm.
Second is, well, again, I'm not saying anything new. It is sympathy versus empathy.
Hmm.
Lip service doesn't work.
Hmm.
And when you empathize, and that ability to empathize, I mean, the word is a dictionary, etc. You can have very good definitions. But
Hmm.
to empathize with somebody else, putting yourself, when you sympathize, it's just like, oh, I'm feeling so sorry about it. Please accept my condolences and all that.
Hmm.
But when
Hmm.
you empathize, you put yourself into that person's shoes, and then you
Hmm.
go to the next level of ensuring. I mean, if it's a managerial position, then you go to the extent of helping him out, of
Yeah.
training, developing him, working shoulder to shoulder with him. So you, alleviate his problem. You give a
Hmm.
palliative.
Hmm.
So that, there's no hard and fixed, there's no straight cut answer to that. That you have to, and I don't like to use the word sacrifice because if you're working for a company, when the company is
Hmm.
paying you, no, you're not doing a favor to the company. Company is not doing a favor to you. It's a very balanced give and take equation.
So well said. Along the entire talent value chain here, you've given them advice. So fantastic. And I think it's been lovely talking to you, Ganesh. Our objective here on In the Lead is to democratize leadership knowledge. And I'm hoping many people are taking advantage of this. And thank you for joining us in this journey and contributing with your ample generosity. Ganesh Nayak, I must tell you that you're very, very inspiring, and your entire illustrious career is inspiring to so many. Thank you for taking the time and sharing so many insights with us here today. So, thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, the very illustrious, the very inspiring Ganesh Nayak. So, do share, like, subscribe this episode if you enjoyed our conversation here today. And one more time, Ganesh Nayak, thank you so much for doing
Thank you.
this for our viewers. Take care, and everyone be safe.